Let's take a look at how we can use everything what we have learned so far and create some basic representation of our door frame and door, and then apply that also to do the same with the windows. You see, I created myself a new layer, 3D doors and windows, and I have, for example, here my layer with my walls. Now I'm going to use my walls for the moment as a snapping target. So instead of drawing on a wall, I come from the outside and snap to those corner points. So I do not want to see any wall element or wall face being highlighted. Because the whole point was, now I have this basic representation of my frame. The offset tool probably will create me some problems, yeah. Doesn't really understand what direction, for example, right now to project. Let's practice a little bit more of geometry. So we know this frame is 1 inch thick, so I can click. I have ortho mode turned on, and along this direction create a 1 inch line. And I do the same this direction. Perfect. On this one I have to offset 1 inch, or I could simply draw a line 1 inch shorter than the length of this line. So how long is this line actually? So let's type in measure distance, this point to there, 6 feet 9 inches. So I could go to here and say click 6 feet 8 inches. The same here, 6 feet 8 inches. And then I can connect those two edges. Let's select all lines. And then join it. So you see I started drawing just at corner points. It's easy to snap to. This frame should be 4 inches deep. My wall is 6 inches deep. So I actually have to move this, this outline 1 inch into my wall. So I could go to move this object, spacebar, this point, this direction, maybe turn off snap, 1 inch, enter, perfect, extrude, this profile, spacebar, it's going to the wrong direction, so -4 inches, enter, and there it is, perfectly centered, as you can see. Great. Now let's take a look at, for example, the door. The door is going to be pretty easy. We pretty much do the same. Polyline, turn on point mode, snap, 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 and snap. And then going to select all these lines, join. Now my frame is 4 inches deep. My wall, my door is maybe let's say 1.5 inches thick. So I have 2.5 inches left. That divided by 2, kind of like 1 inch and a quarter. This one has to move inside. So move this object, spacebar, here to there. Let's turn snap off to 5 inches. And then this one, extrude, -1.5 inches. And there's my door. Perfect. Let's go into shaded mode. See, this already looks so much more interesting, because while the geometry is of course very, very brutally basic, it's actually already enough to get you a good understanding of what your design intent is. Now I, for example, created a frame that sits inside the door. You could easily also create something that goes around, kind of like a blend or frame So let's maybe take a look at what we could do, for example, with the window. So let's go to wireframe mode. Let's turn this one on, and it might be a little bit more tricky because we again do not want to sketch onto this wall. So turn on snap, click, 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 and click. So there's actually now my window part. Now, in this case, actually, I show you a different approach. So, for example, take a look at this. Let's say the whole thing should be maybe... actually, I go to the midpoint. This is important. So, midpoint, endpoint is turned off. So I go to this midpoint, and for example, I draw a line maybe 4 inches. Okay, and then here, spacebar, I draw a line maybe 2 inches down. So you see actually that those lines sit kind of like inside the frame and on the wall. And then the whole point was now you can go back to the endpoint and go to line. Oh, all the time my window wants to be snapped to, so I turn it off. Another reason why layers are fantastic. Go up, inch, escape, spacebar here, this way 1 inch, spacebar here, snap to there. Maybe I make it this tall. And then actually here I turn on perpendicular, spacebar U. See, there's a perpendicular, snap, click, escape, because then I can move this one down to there. And there you see I created kind of like this cross section. So all this, select, and for example join. Here it is. Now we do not use extrude, which takes a profile and well extrudes it. We are going to use the solid sweep. Sweep basically works by taking, for example, as you can see here, profile 1 and then sweep it along a path like 2. So this is our profile, this is our path. So sweep, select the profile, spacebar, and actually I forgot to join those. Join, perfect. Again, sweep, spacebar, path, spacebar. And there it is. So let's go and take a look at shaded. So you see it's a really nice frame. And then we turn on this model. You see actually it sits inside there. So this is actually really nice. Now I'm actually curious if I actually made my windows exactly the same. I don't recall that. So 5 feet 2 inches. And yeah, perfect. So for example, I did this one once. So I could select this object. Let's go to shaded. And for example, let's go to home and copy and say copy. No, I need to specify corner point, which is good. So for the moment, I simply select this one and just move copy out, escape. Then this copy I'm going to rotate. So U spacebar, there, click. Okay, great. And now I have to actually snap it back onto my wall. So for right now, I turn in show history to 1. So I would like this point where my mouse is right now to snap to this corner there. So let's check, turn this one off, go to, for example, type in move this object from this corner to this corner, click. And no, didn't really do it correctly. So, oh, we got close. Let's do it again. Spacebar, this object. No, wait, it actually did. I think. Let's see. Oh, the window is actually taller. That's what's different here. So, oh, it's not a big deal. So, for example, the original window I cut in is too tall. So, let's type in show history and 2. Control there, and then let's see, how do we do best? This one, go straight down, particular maybe. Click, and I think this should have done it. Let's take a look. Yeah. See, perfectly helped. The perpendicular actually made sure that I was moving the upper edge of my window down, so it snaps perpendicular onto my window frame. Let's go into this view and let's rotate it. And yeah, so there we see. Perfectly fits. So that's, for example, then how I created, for example, the opening for kind of like a window. Now let's say I would like to have a window with 2 windows, kind of like with a plus inside, so I would have to do a little bit of measurement and math. So I'm going to turn off my walls for a moment, because that's going to be easier. Let's turn this to a wireframe mode. Let's go maybe to this view. And then I go to another drawing and say this point, this point, this point. I think, yeah, this point, back to this point, escape, 1, 2, 3, and 4, join. And to make life easier a little bit, I'm going to select it from there and move it out. So now this one, for example, I can hide. There, selected the wrong one. So now I just see basically the outside part of it. Now I can, for example, go to the midpoint. So where's the midpoint? There, and say midpoint. Midpoint, spacebar, point to midpoint, escape. And let's see, actually my offset works in this case. Spacebar. No, still has some problems. Okay, so what I basically would need to do is now I have to create other lines that, for example, define the thickness of each window. So I could maybe see if this actually would work. Shoot, doesn't work. Okay, no problem. So what I'm going to do is actually, see here, I have everything already split. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use maybe the trim. So you and you, spacebar. Oh, it doesn't work. Okay, I don't necessarily know maybe right now what the problem is, but I assume maybe what I did wrong is maybe those lines don't perfectly match up. But this is actually a good situation to show you something else, how we work around it, because knowing the software very often is also about knowing how to do things the other way. So I have a 4 feet 9 inch tall and 5 feet wide window. And I know if I start cleanly drawing everything in orthographic, it will work. So 5 feet by 4 feet inches. Okay, there it is. Perfect. So let's create the midpoints. Because right now we're just creating this window simply on the floor. That's not really a problem because later we simply, rotate it. So 1 inch. Side, see, this one actually worked perfect. Now I would like to have the next one 1 inch as well. So I need an offset of half the distance, 0.5 inch. You to there, to there, to there, you to there. And for example, those mid parts I delete. There. And everything I select, I go to trim. Because then... Oh, what happened? No. Go back. Trim. There. So there. For example, actually, the problem I later will have is how to extrude these parts out. So I'm actually building those in a way how in real life I would build those out of wood. So see, I'm trimming those parts. Then I keep this move. And this I remove. Okay, escape. And 1, 2, 6, 7. Join. And then switch to the endpoint. Click. So escape. Bar, click, escape. Spacebar, click. Okay, and then there, and join. So you see what I have now are actually 2 objects. I have the outside frame and I have the inside. Should have the inside plus. Why didn't all this get joined? Join. 3 segments joined into 1 polyline. Okay, this is much better. Good. Okay, great. So all this, I should be able to rotate. And that's now the annoying part. Let's say the world, yeah. Rotates. You enter the reference point and actually reference rotationing. Shoot. No, I actually... Oh, 3D rotate. Wah, wah. Of course, sorry, because this is actually for 2D, this is actually for 3D. So you see there's also a 3D move and a 2D move. My fault. So I forgot that. So here now, I rotated 3-dimensional. So you see, perfect. Now all I need to do is, for example, create my surfaces. So let's say this one, K is 1 inch thick, and then extrude this one, enter 2 inches, and then this one, extrude 3 inches. The main reason for 3 inches is because it's all solid, so I have to go to the solid subtract. So I get something like this. There's now my window. So now I could, for example, actually show history, turn this one off for the moment. This, for example, I delete. And let's type unhide. Okay. Now those two objects I'm going to group. So it's always one group. I'm going to select, click on rotate. Now I click on this Z-axis and rotate it one direction and rotate it one. Yeah, there it is. Okay. So you see now my profile is outside. And now I can decide where, for example, I would like this part to fit into. So I can select my object, go to move, and say this corner point, move please to this one turned off. This corner point, there it is, perfectly snug fits in. And maybe I'm going to move this one just an inch to the outside. U spacebar from this point along this direction 1 inch and enter. And there it is. Great. So maybe let's do the same. Copy, paste, copy and paste. There's my part. So 3D rotate this up. Those two actually, let's group them together. Yep. So rotate this one. Okay. And then this object, spacebar, and this corner to this corner. Let's turn orthographic off. Click. Turn off back on. Move. Subject, spacebar, this corner, this direction, 1 inch. And we are done. So that basically was a quick demo in how to build kind of like semi-interesting door frame and door and window elements. And you saw actually it doesn't really matter where and how you create them, because there are always multiple ways then later to manipulate, to create, and then to rotate and position your geometry. And the 3D models are always nice to snap to and draw there, but sometimes it can get too complicated or confusing. So that's why it's good to measure parts and then, for example, draw something flat on the ground because it's easier, and then simply snap it into place.